Well, the reason I wanted to work on the vector game is because you had much higher resolution. Asteroids had like 1024 by 768 resolution as compared to a TV screen, which is like 300 by 240, 320 by 240 is very typical. So you get much better picture qualities. Normally when you draw on raster, you get a nice little stair-stepping. When you do it on a vector, it looks like a nice smooth straight line. So it really made it very effective, especially when you're doing small little ships and shots and things like that. You want everything to be nice and smooth. All monitors have a problem with screen burn. You see a lot of, like PCs now, they do screensavers. Well, in the old days, in Asteroids, we couldn't put a screensaver up there, although we did swap screens around a little bit. But what we did is we had a protection circuit. There's actually a second problem with an XY monitor I should bring up too, and that is if something should go wrong with the electronics on the board, the monitor's beam would just go down to a single point. And since all our energy is at a single point, it would burn a hole in the screen. So we had special circuitry on there that basically said if you're not drawing far enough apart, then turn off the beam. Well, it turns out that the copyright on the bottom and the scorer and a little bit of stuff at the top was just enough drawing so that it would not erase the screen. And so we found that wasn't quite the case, but there were some monitors that were not quite up to spec with others. And if you had like one rock and the asteroid was, or your spaceship was in the middle of the screen, it would sort of fade away to black. And as everything moved away, it would come back to bright again. And it turns out I met my wife, and she had an Asteroids game as well. So we actually have 2 Asteroids games at home. Wow. One is hers and one's mine. He introduced me to it and basically introduced me as, here's the best video game designer in the world, And she was impressed because she always liked Asteroids. But we started dating about probably 7 months later, 8 months later, and we're married now. I actually tried the lurk strategy, getting down to a couple rocks and then trying to shoot the guys, but I just couldn't do it, and I said, nah, nobody else can do it. And just left it the way it was, and it turned out that, of course, people could master it. In fact, they got to the point where they could master it so well that they could build up hundreds of lives. But, and this is not a bug. The hardware has protection in it that you don't come back to it every so often. It's called a watchdog reset, and it resets the board. It starts all over from scratch. But if I spend all this time drawing all the ships across the screen, all your extra lives, it basically runs out of time and causes a reset. So if it builds up too many extra lives, of course the board would reset. Turtleroids, that was another joke. So what I did was I took asteroids and I replaced the small and large saucers with turtles. And so, we had the golden edition out in the lobby of Atari. And so I went in and swapped the game proms, and you had these turtles floating around. And so one day he walked in, looked, and sure enough, they're turtles. At one point, year after year, we've done the same thing at brainstorming sessions. Our VP of marketing got up and said, okay guys, absolutely no more turtles. No more turtles. Absolutely no more turtles. And so later in the brainstorm, we had one of the waiters bring up a drink for him because he was thirsty. And we got one of these little wind-up turtles. We stuck it in the drink, and so it goes, they handed it up to him, and he just takes the glass and just splash, splash, splash. Everybody's breaking out and laughing.